Governor, you were moving there, and I said respectfully, let's not go there, because people will make, that was what I said, people, citizens, it is believed, citizens will make that assertion. But I am interested in the efficiency of the program you are running. That was exactly what I said. Ranking, please, I haven't finished. That was exactly what I said. Then in 2024, you mentioned that you had incurred a loss of 1.8 billion for the Gold for Oil program. So based on that, the board advised you to end the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, you're telling us that there was a 3.8 billion Ghana cedis loss for the Gold for Reserve program. Why did the board not advise you to also bring to an end the Gold for Reserve program?
Who takes charge of the costs incurred in that exercise?
Finally, I want to find out from you that 3.8 billion loss that you mentioned. Where can I find it in your financial statements for 2024?
It was a very interesting conversation today. Bank of Ghana, Asia Public Account Committee, which is PAC. Now, we question mono Bank of Ghana boss, Dr. Johnson Isiama. And we kwatena kunyum se yendu tuna no kwa no wode ne branches and in mine ekwatena ho se yendu to mono. Na concerning sika ayera ni IMF nsem wo mo de ba efa ye sika sam ho 214 million Ghana cedis ayera ehunu bebi afa. Na gold board wonim say gold for oil NDC buy no mbetwem and wo de gold board aba. Yes. Na eno the first question a buy was Palugu Dam sika biano omotu empanifo tua wo se Palugu Dam e start ye duma but obi ani ho saa sika no eho asam tesen now obeyi anu na oyi anu ya obehunu se oyi anu ya na wonya anu ya two o say metre Dr. Johnson Isiama Bank of Ghana boss and wo kasa yo o say omo cancel gold for oil na NPP de buy ye no because omo konya afutuo bi anaso omo kodi afutuo bi firi mpanimfo bi enchen. What am I say? Omo kodi afutuo bi efiri mpanimfo bi enchen ena omo cancel that gold for oil. Na eno na madam honorable Abna say ebusa say and the hadn't na some mpanimfo kura nada ama mo afutuo say mon cancel gold for reserves no. Hadn't so mo afutuo say mon cancel because eno na de ka bi eba no. And no na de ka no eba no ebusua ehon so eye dedwa the atoso miensa 3.8 billion Ghana cedis me se me bobo so amo na obetinsem ho 3.8 billion Ghana cedis financial statement etires ayera Bank of Ghana for website na omo de akoto na eno na maame ne busa se wo peso hunu kua sa sika no fa so yera aye wo matwera akwa akoto se sika na yera adenti na sa sika na yera ebusua eno so ho asem ho inflation say a drop aba 5.4%. Adenti na nyoma bo kwa na ekosoro na jebre mentemi wase be koso ho baby e wona mpesa wo jebre na wo tie nsem ne biba tie bibra.
Yes, so for instance, there's a key concern, and that has to do with the heavy use of the gold-based instruments, the gold for oil, the gold for reserves, gold for foreign cash, which amounted to some 3.9 billion in 2024 alone. And this is captured in pages 16 and 17 of the report. These operations substitute for direct fiscal financing, and it blurs IMF ceilings in practice. Do you agree with me on this subject?
These are quasi-fiscal activities, certainly. And you need to look at when it started. It began from 2021. We have the data to provide to the committee if you want. So yes, it is a quasi-fiscal activity. At the end of the day, government has to make provision for that. But as I mentioned recently at the New Year School, this DGPP was introduced to address specific, issues. Since then, we have had to make some refinements. We have had to cancel certain aspects. And currently we are left with the G4R, which is serving its purpose. We are in talks
Governor.
with government.
Governor, please, the G4, we all know gold for oil, gold for the oil, but because you are speaking to the whole of Ghana, I would want you to just not use the just the gold
The
board,
acronyms,
so that the
okay.
acronym, so that people can really appreciate.
Yes, so the gold for oil, or the G4O, since May of last year, we had to shut that down. An external audit is underway currently, and that entire program is being audited. When the audit is complete, we are happy to share audit findings with you. Then the G4R as well. There's an external audit that the Bank of Ghana board has authorized. The goal for reserves, that is the G4R. There also there's an external audit that's been authorized by the Bank of Ghana board, both from when it started until the end of 2024, thereabout, and then also how it operated during 2025. So these audit reports, when ready, we are happy to discuss with your committee. But I must say that these are programs that have, or more or less were introduced for to address specific national challenges. And we believe that going forward, what we have to do is to reform them, to reduce the cost further, to treat them as quasi-fiscal interventions, and that should support our reserves build-up going forward. Thank you.
Governor, so based on this question, I just want to find out what is the BoG's reserve asset position now as we speak, based on the various interventions that have come into play in the course of the year. Can you share with us? In 2024, per the report, it says the asset position was $8.6 billion. So if you can share with us that.
Very well. Again, with your permission, I want to ask Na, who works on this directly, to provide the data.
Yes, so thank you very much again, Madam Chair. So with regards to the reserves, as at December 2025, end December 25, our reserves position stood at $13.829 billion. Thank you very much.
So, and Governor, you indicated that at the New Year's school, there were some comments that were made with respect to the Gold for Oil program, which indicated some losses, especially some loss making for the Gold for Oil program. Indeed, if you look at the gold inflows, we are looking at some $3.96 billion, which is reported in the report, pages 16 to 17. Are you able to tell us how much of this relates to specifically to gold for oil, and which losses have been incurred based on your earlier assertion?
Madam Chair, I have some data here I can provide on the net losses for the gold for oil, and also net losses for the gold for reserves. In 2022, the net losses for the gold for oil was about 74.44 million Ghana cedis. We did not have a net loss for the gold for reserves in 2022. Then in 2023, the net loss for the gold for oil was 317.69 million in 2023. On the other hand, the net loss for the gold for reserves, the losses in 2023, was 1,054.84 Ghana cedis. A little over 1 billion was the net loss for the gold for reserves in 2023. Then in 2024, the net loss for the gold for oil was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. On the other hand, the net loss for the gold for reserves in 2024 was 3.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, for 2025, and as we have indicated, this data is under audit, and we will want to wait until the audit is over. We will publish our financials by March this year. When we publish it, the data for 2025 will be provided in those financials. So as I've mentioned, it's not a question about losses then and now. It is that these schemes were introduced to address a specific national problem. What to do going forward is how to reform it, how to make it more efficient. A number of things have been done by us. If we have time, I could run you through them by way of reforming it. I have all the details here. I can provide to your committee to read for yourselves. But going forward, our appeal is to move in a unified manner. We want everyone to get on board, to reform this better, and to sharpen its efficiency so that it supports, economic stabilization, it supports our reserves build-up going forward. At the Bank of Ghana, we have started. This week, our board is having a joint meeting with the board of the Gold Board for a start. Beyond that, we are going to be meeting with other stakeholders, and we'll be happy for experts in Parliament to join us. We believe that it can be made a win-win. A friend of mine made a comment that I want to share with the committee on this. He said, if this issue doesn't unite us as a country, then he doesn't know what other issue will unite us. The losses are not new. They were there before 2025. And so rather than apportion blame, let's get to the table. Let's see what to do further. We did a bit last year to reduce some of the charges. What more can we do and sustain it? Other than that, going back to leave the space for the smugglers, going back to leave the space for others. And if you look at how much we've lost as a country by way of leakages over all the years, it is mind-blowing. So our appeal is that we work together, Madam Chair, going forward to reform the space. It will help us as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor, for our space that you have used to tell of what you're doing in that with the Gold Board or the Gold for Reserve program. But Governor, I want to find out from you. You mentioned some losses that had been incurred for the Gold for Oil program and the Gold for Reserve program as well. And then in 2024, you mentioned that you had incurred a loss of 1.8 billion for the Gold for Oil program. So based on that, the board advised you to end the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, you're telling us that there was a 3.8 billion Ghana cedis loss for the Gold for Reserve program. Why did the board not advise you to also bring to an end the Gold for Reserve program? Because when you compare the losses, this is 3.8 billion, and that is more, I can say, almost twice that of the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, I'm just asking, why did the board not advise that you also cancel this?
So the first probably reference is to observe that since we canceled the Gold for Oil in May last year, we haven't seen a build-up of queues at the pumps. Because one of the objectives for the Gold for Oil was to support that. And so we believe that the cancellation was worth it. There were quite too many issues under the Gold for Oil that we needed to unearth. And therefore the board authorized an external audit. We got PPA approval for the audit just about 2 months ago. And so that exercise is underway. In the case of the gold for reserves, as the name suggests, the objective was to help us build reserves. Now, based on the data that NA has provided so far, the evidence is clear that it is not a question of shutting it down, but it's the question of enhancing its efficiency, looking at inefficiencies that you have to take out. And that is why we went after gold board. I also have a table here I can give to you. You see the reductions that we have brought to bear. Madam Chair, it will interest you to know, for example, that until last year, especially the exports of the small-scale gold sector, we were just lucky nothing happened before 2025. Because there was no insurance component after those consignments land at the destination country. And we had to insist that we needed to protect Ghana, even for that 5% that had to be paid. And so currently, everything is paid before the consignment is lifted. Otherwise, there has to be an insurance guarantee. So going forward, let's look at these aspects that we can fix in the interest of the country. And it calls for a unified approach. The external auditors have already been authorized, as I mentioned, by the Bank of Ghana board. The goal for all is being audited. The goal for reserves will also be audited. When that exercise is over, we are happy to sit with you to look at where there were infractions or not and what to do with it. But the best thing now that will be in the national interest is to look again at the trading model and to, for example, decide, should the Ministry of Finance make a budgetary allocation to take care of the costs, given that this is supporting our reserves build-up? Those are the type of questions we need to agree on.
Governor, as for those questions, they've already been answered. Ministry of Finance allocated 217 million US dollars for gold board operations in the 2025 budget. So as for those questions, they've already been answered. It is just that when you look in the budget from January to September 2025, nothing was given to them. So that allocation was already in the budget, but nothing was given to them. Then Ministry of Finance comes to tell us in the budget that for the end year projection, that's about 4.5 billion Ghana cedis, they are going to utilize it. So if you say that we should now go and find out whether Ministry of Finance should fund it or not, that was already made in the 2025 budget, which Ministry of Finance from January to September did not give a dime to Gold Board. So,
if I can explain,
yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Governor.
So you need to differentiate between two things. Yeah. There's the trading amount, and then there's also something to take care of the inherent costs.
But Governor, once Ministry of Finance, 1 minute, one Ministry of Finance gives you the allocation, it is within that framework. You will have to use it per the Public Financial Management Act, and then reports. So it is up to you. But once that allocation has been made in the budget, whether it is for this or that, provided you are using it per the Public Financial Management Act, you don't have a problem. And so that was already in there. 217 million US dollars. Ministry of Finance from January to September did not pay a dime according to the budget that was submitted to us in November 2025. And the Ministry of Finance says, from September to year end, I am going to utilize the 4.5 billion. That means the 270 has been translated into Ghana cedis, and they are going to utilize the 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. I cannot ask you whether it's been used or not because you don't run the Ministry of Finance budget. But maybe in the mid-year, we will know or we would see, or we can come by way of questions to the Minister for Finance. So that conversation has already been had, and it was in the 2025 budget that Ministry of Finance has allocated 217 million US dollars to them, and it was up to them to utilize the money per the Public Financial Management Act, and they wouldn't have any problem at all.
Madam Chair,
but
I'm trying to explain one thing. there are inherent costs in the trading model. That inherent cost is currently being borne by the Bank of Ghana, not just in 2025, but since the program started. The losses that were incurred on the gold for oil in 2024, it was borne by the Bank of Ghana in 2024. The losses that were incurred in 2024 under the gold for reserves was borne by the Bank of Ghana. And so what I'm saying is that because of the cost involved, it's not enough to just X amount for the gold trade. You have to allocate something to say if there are costs incurred, government will absorb it to this amount. And then that way you free the financials of the Bank of Ghana. Madam Chair, and I'm saying this because the Bank of Ghana, due to what has happened since 2022, remember someone says we are an insolvent central bank. We already have our own issues. We are actually operating at very, I want to use my words carefully. So we are not in a position to shoulder those costs going forward. As we speak, we are having a conversation with the minister to see if they can reimburse us, even for those costs that were passed on to Bank of Ghana since 2024. So going forward, the key thing or the key question is, who takes charge of the costs incurred in that exercise? And if Government of Ghana decides to budget for those, because it's a quasi-fiscal activity, and then if we have some further reductions in other aspects of the cost, then we can operate this model going forward. And so maybe you can join us, you can be our advocate to government to ensure that going forward the costs are well budgeted for. And I tell you, we can operate this model efficiently.
Governor, respectfully, previously there was no allocation in the budget for these exercises. But come 2025, there was an allocation for such activities. And when you translate about 4.5 billion, how much of the loss have you made so far? Then we can look at it and see whether the 4.5 can cover it or not, because per what I know, government budgeted for it with an amount of $270 million in the budget.
So yes, it was in the budget, but the actual cash, got provided in December at the end of the year. So in between, the trade had to be sustained. And hence, that was where Bank of Ghana had to stand in, just as we stood in the earlier years. But our concern is the costs that are involved, especially for 2025, which was mainly because the volumes have increased. Now, the volumes increasing, that in itself is a good thing. What it means is that we are winning against the smugglers. Formerly, all that quantum, the additional quantum, if you take it over the 2024 volumes, all that quantum was probably being smuggled. And the proceeds were not coming back into the country.
As for the quantum, if we say we're going to talk about it now, it's something else altogether, because a lot of Ghanaians believe that the sharp increase in the quantum of gold is commensurate with the increase in the activities of Galamsey. So let's not talk about the quantum. I'm only talking about the efficiency of the program and the transparency of it as well. Finally, I want to find out from you that 3.8 billion loss that you mentioned. Where can I find it in your financial statements for 2024?
Madam Chair.
Madam, respectfully, you can't do that.
Record. It's important for us to, especially when.
Check with Paul where can we see?
Governor, can you please show me where I can find the 3.8 billion loss in your financial statements?
Madam Chair, we will provide that to the committee.
No, because I have seen the 1.8 billion in your financial statements. I have seen the 1.8 billion stated in your financial statement, but I haven't seen the 3.8. So respectfully, if you can show me exactly where the 3.8 billion Ghana cedis loss has been located.
We will provide that, Madam Chair, respectfully. We'll come back to the committee.
Governor, as for your banks, this is for 2024. I'm talking about 2024. It's on the website, but I can't find the loss of 3.8 billion Ghana cedis.
If it is, this is 2024. So you
The
wouldn't find it.
3.8 you said was in, I have seen the 1.8 stated in your financial statement.
Right.
For the gold for oil program.
But that might be for the 2023.
No, it's
right.
for 2024. Your 2024 financial statement is on your website.
Yes.
So I went there and then I checked. I saw the 1.8 billion loss in the, I saw the 1.8 billion loss in the financial statement, but I'm yet to see the 3.8 billion that you mentioned here in the financial statement.
Yes. So, Madam Chair, can we come back? Madam Chair, I've promised we will come back to provide that clarity. Yes.
Mr. Chair, yes, I want to, this is a issue of records, so I want to clarify some issue and put the record straight. I mean, in reserve at the Bank of Ghana in terms of gold by good initiative by the government doesn't commensurate with the increase in galamsey activity. Gold's volumes, the trade, doesn't commensurate with the increasing in terms of galamsey activity, because the government is fighting galamsey and galamsey is going down. It is the good initiative to plug the loopholes that is leading to the volume that we are talking about. So let's say the record straight.
I think that it's important that we all acknowledge the fact that nobody has made any assertion to the fact that the volumes are as a result of galamsey. The governor was moving into that realm. Please listen. Please. He was moving there. Then Madam said that let us not get there. Let's not get there. And so please, nobody has made such assertion. And I think it's important that we put on record. But
Governor, you were moving there, and I said respectfully, let's not go there, because people will make, that was what I said, people, citizens, it is believed, citizens will make that assertion. But I am interested in the efficiency of the program you are running. That was exactly what I said. Ranking, please, I haven't finished. That was exactly what I said. And so I'm going to go on with...
Madam Chair, we have a policy on responsible mining practices. And so we are assuming that these transactions are in line with our policy on responsible mining practices. And that is why I mentioned the scaling up in the volumes. If there's evidence otherwise, I'm sorry, the relevant agencies will be able to provide. Thank you.
I'm happy with that response, Governor. Let me move on. Governor, as part of your monetary policy transmissions and credit conditions, inflation currently is around 5.4%. But Governor, what is your target inflation rate? Is it 6 or 8 plus or minus 2, please?
Well, we have a medium-term target, which hasn't changed, of 8 plus or minus 2%. That remains our medium-term target as at now. We haven't changed it at all.
So clearly, you can see that you have done a lot in that space. And inflation now is below your target, plus or minus 2, the 8 plus or minus 2. But then, businesses are seeing a high rise in borrowing costs, because rates concerning that hasn't really come down. I know sometimes when there's disinflation, it comes with high borrowing costs. But then what can you do in that area in terms of your monetary policy transmission, making sure that we see some drop in credit conditions to ease businesses and households when it comes to loans?
Madam Chair, on the contrary, the data suggests otherwise. Credit conditions are easing. as at our last MPC meeting, end of November, it was reported that average lending rates had declined to 22.2% compared to 30.5% a year earlier. So on the contrary, things are actually getting better. Lending rates are on the decline. The GRR, the Ghana reference rate, has come down sharply, and it's now around 15% or thereabout. So, Madam Chair, we are on the bend. The lending activity by the banks is following the general stabilization, the general decline in other interest rates. We hope to see more of this as we go on. Now, talking about that, there are channels through which these monetary policy impulses get transmitted. For example, the exchange rate is one channel. It's quite a strong one in Ghana. The pass-through is quite rapid. Then you have the lending channel, you have the interest rate channel, and also the expectations channel. We believe that all these channels are working in unison, and that's why we are seeing the progress that we are making. Madam Chair, I made the point earlier also that we've met the banks. So not only are we using our interest rates as our traditional tools, we are engaging them to also support the real sector, the export activities, discovering new markets, helping to hold the hand of a Ghanaian businessman to discover opportunities out there. We believe that especially the banks that are from other countries, South Africa, Nigeria, and what have you, will be better placed, to help in this regard. So we'll continue to push hard on those fronts, in addition to, the traditional monetary policy making that we are doing. We are supporting government to a great extent. As you are aware, Madam Chair, the level of coordination with the Ministry of Finance has been stepped up currently. The EPCC meetings are now held regularly, and we talk with the minister about twice every month. We hold a breakfast meeting, we lay out our concerns, we meet him halfway, we agree on how we're going to address this issue. And so, Madam Chair, we are on the bend. We believe that the stability we've seen in the past 1 year is here to stay. And on this note, I think we should thank Parliament for the support that we also enjoyed last year. We have had to pass a number of critical legislations, and I think we must commend you for that support. What we have done through those legislations is that some of the things that happened in 2022 will not happen anymore. The huge liquidity injection that took place those days would not happen easily anymore. If I have to sanction any of those activities, I would first have to approach Parliament, or the Minister of Finance will have to approach Parliament. We have strengthened the oversight function of Parliament going forward, and that strengthens the framework going forward. So I thought I should put that on record, our commendation for the support of Parliament. We'll be coming back with some more legislative reforms, and we are sure you'll be there to support us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Governor, but I still am a bit concerned about the difference between the policy rates and the inflation of 5.4%. It's quite huge. So whatever it is that you are doing, now that you have even gone below your target, maybe you need to ease those monetary policy operations in that area so that things can balance a bit. That's all I'm saying. So we support our household and businesses when it comes to the cost of borrowing, because now you have what you want, and you have even gone below what you wanted. 8 plus or minus 2, and it's 5.4. So maybe you should think of easing that a bit.
Well,
the committee here will gladly always support you, because whatever you do, we know affects the economy at large, and we are representatives of the people. And so if we have to support you to make sure that you ease the burden of the representatives of the people, the ranking members and myself are happy, including Parliament, to support you to make that happen. But we'll be very grateful if you can ease the operations a bit, because you've hit your targets already, and then you can look into other things. Finally, you mentioned the Forex Forex exchange market management. Can you tell us how much liquidity you have pumped into the market in terms of Forex and then in terms of CDs as well for 2025?
Madam Chair, well, I have my head of financial markets here. I would ask him to come in. But before he does so, Madam Chair, you know, our foreign exchange management framework is based on the managed floating regime. Now, that framework hasn't changed. It is what has been in place for years now. We have the same thing in place. However, during last year, we made some changes on the operational side to strengthen the framework. We published a guideline to the public explaining that framework. I'm sure you may have seen the framework, but if Madam Chair wants, I have my head of financial markets here. I also have a copy of that press release. I could read to the committee if you permit me to do so. But let me ask my head of financial markets to make a few comments before I do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Nisowa Ahulu, Financial Markets. Madam Chair, I will indicate that, yes, this year, given the fact that we've been able to significantly improve our reserves level and the reforms we've had in the financial, in the foreign exchange operations, our three core function is to build up reserves and then to ensure that we have sufficient reserves to support where we have significant volatility in the FX market, as well as then being able to intermediate in the market in a neutral way in order not to have impact on the volatility and its spread onto the macroeconomy. So relative to last year, we've had significant intermediation process, and that is what we have observed in terms of the stability and the appreciation we have observed.
How much does the significant interventions translate into? That is what I know there's been significant interventions. How much does it translate to respectfully?
In terms of our support for the market this year,
yes, please.
I would say overall it will be close to about 10 billion.
10 billion USD or Ghana cedis?
10 billion US dollars on the FS market.
And then on the Ghana cedi?
That should be, remember, supporting the market will be equivalent to withdrawal of CDs. So that component will be, if we take an average rate of about 10.5 and multiply by the 10 billion, that should give somewhere around maybe 15 billion in terms of withdrawal of CD liquidity. That is what we have done this year.
But, Madam Chair, respectfully, I think we have to correct the impression that we pumped 10 billion into the market. No. The word we use now is intermediation. The 10 billion he's mentioning consists of several things. The payments to IPPs. Remember, IPPs were going to shut down. All the money we paid them is part of it. Bondholders who wanted to take out their monies. All the monies we paid to them is part of this. So it is not the intervention, as you call it. We emphasized more on intermediating all these flows, at the same time building reserves. And I thought I should put that into context before he goes on.
Mr. Chairman. Chair.
Mr.
Madam Chair, yes. So just like Governor mentioned, the support is basically to the various sectors of the economy. And we have various breakdowns in terms of what goes to manufacturing, what goes to commerce and finance, what goes to support the energy sector and all that. So the amount involved is the overall support provided to the various sectors of the economy for the year.
Yes, so, Governor, I have a data with me which talks about 39.4 tons of gold previously lost to smuggling in terms of has been formalized at the set at that actually leads to the volume extra. So I would like to find out from you, is this data correct?
Madam, yeah, Madam Chair, what we know is that there's been a difference between what was being aggregated, for example, in 2024 and what was done in 2025. As to the figure you are mentioning, I'm not sure where it's coming from. The source will be, better able to speak for themselves. What we are certain about is that there's been a significant increase in the aggregation, and we emphasize responsible mining practices. We don't have any evidence to, otherwise at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, Governor. I've been.
Smart Africa Media, of course. Obaso wada Roma na our humble request. Wa subscribe, wa like, no saying share. Ama omo wechichi any bench ye. Na ye di aka kire mo say whatever happens in this country, ye ina ye timu bi. Enti no bibi e besi bia no ye mfa ye channel no nye propaganda there bi. De for man no ho na fa ye ho. Ye be ma won so no wo hu de ekoso. Na we mu yina no. Baby am no problem pa. Palugu dam no a won mo tweska wi a besin de omo nko ho nkoye adwuma no. Oh, and this for ba maka so mo ba mo ye ni na. But the ever John Dramani Mahama no 1 year ni. E ho asem to say. Na some cancel gold for oil. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia initiative no. Mo na mo say some cancel because I say to me no mo hu say NPP be ka so mo de no mo polish no ni ade. Mo cancel and mo de gold for reserves. Ediaba. Na sa gold for reserves and sika bi yere wo ho. Ehun asem to say. Now 3.8 billion Ghana cedis no. Mo na mo say ayera. Ehun asem to say. Oh, enu na ye bu say the twatwo a etwam nsunum inflation about 5.4 but wo kwadua man so papa wo be bregu wo be wo be bretu ayese dollars what it enye but enuoma bo kwa na ekosoro ehu asem te say ni na no eka ho na enei no makuru kira me nso de aba so so what we but be enko comment section enko nkodi nkomo da woro me ye nkodi atem minim se wodi wundi atem but ye enko nkodi nkomo as we always do me de odi man nkomo bana na Kofi and of course hi Smart Africa Media oba so na wa subscribe like no wa san a share e de ama foforo mo chichi any bench makro